The doctor calls Zodwa and says, I examined your husband Temba earlier today. Are you aware he's losing his hearing? Well, things haven't changed much, Doc, said Zodwa. The only difference is that before he didn't listen. Now he can't. Good evening and welcome to Talk with Rams Live. Thank you for choosing to be with us on this most powerful 30 minutes of digital content. This time coming 30 minutes before, I think, some boring content that's going to come on national TV. But well, let's not talk about anything that's coming on national TV. We are on Facebook Live and IG Live. You can also find us on YouTube. We are Talk with Rams on all platforms, slight variations here and there. Talk with Rams is brought to you by Kana Coffee, the most delicious and best tasting coffee with extreme health benefits. Manufactured by the Kana Coffee Company, this coffee has potent, creamy, and long-lasting flavors, which are low in acidity and delightfully romantic. To buy Kana Coffee or acquire the Kana Coffee franchise, call 082-730-4112, 082-430-4112. Now then, it is Thursday and time to meet a game changer, someone who needs to be recognized and celebrated. Virginia Mabaso hails from a small village in the rural Limpopo. She had never seen rowing before, let alone imagine that one day she would be the development coordinator for Rowing S.A. Virginia is not just passionate about the sport. She is the driving force of rowing transformation in South Africa. She literally drives over 140,000 kilometers to remote places all over the country to find and recruit young rowing talent in her Learn to Row rural program. To date, rowing has gained representation in all 9 provinces, with 6 of those implemented by Virginia, creating employment for members of the community that are trained as coaches to facilitate the program in various districts. Virginia Mabaso is our game changer tonight. Please join us in the conversation by sending messages on Instagram, Facebook, or via WhatsApp voice notes on 067-271-8239. Tobela, Virginia.
Agele guy.
Rona le guy.
Ay, ke teng ka phela. Ndovuwa.
Novuwa ngamanda. What the hell are you doing in rowing? A black woman from rural Limpopo.
Well, we have to try things that we were never exposed to when we were growing up in our villages, right? So I guess I am one of those women that are very curious and like to try new things. And here I am. I landed in rowing 13 years ago.
Well, let's talk about your story. Village in Limpopo, what is it called? Tell us a bit about your background.
I grew up in Mandara village, which is in the greater far north of Limpopo in the Njelele Valley. If you know the Limpopo clan, we are closer, 5 kilometers away from the Limpopo resort. So that's where I grew up. There's no dam, it's just a Njelele river. That's where we used to swim. So I grew up like any other child in the village, only exposed to sports like netball and soccer and choral music or debate. Those were the activities that we did in school. So nothing about water sports at all. So until I matriculated, moved to Joburg and started working then. In 2007, rowing had a...
Before we go there, Virginia, I still want to know a bit about your upbringing. You know, we're going to celebrate everything about you. You know, your successes become even more beautiful when we know your past, it becomes even more amazing. So you grow up in this part of the world. It is fairly rural. I mean, I know a bit about it. I've never been there. Uh, what do you do as you grow up? What are your ambitions as a young girl in that part of the world? What are the things that you're looking at? What are the things that you're dreaming about at that time?
So, you know, I must say I come from a very poor family. I grew up from a very poor household. And at the time of my high school years, it was me and my brother. We started living together when I was 14 and my brother was 16. So we were basically a child-headed home. So we had to mind ourselves while my mother was trying to find work in Joburg and try to support us. So as a child growing up like that, I had this dream of being a bookkeeper. In as much as I didn't know what it entailed to be a bookkeeper at the time, but I was lucky enough to be guided to take commercial subjects when I was in high school. You know, so I knew that I'm on the right path to getting to be a bookkeeper because we were dealing with bookkeeping when we were doing accounting and all that. But most of all, I was a child that was very stylish with the little that we had, you know, so very passionate about music as well at church, you know, being surrounded by very supportive people. But when you are growing in such a poor family, you have little to desire, you know. It takes a lot for a child to come out of that space in terms of mindset and to say, I can see life beyond the village. I can see life beyond my environment that I'm growing up under. But, you know, we kept the hope, you know, I'm going to church and all that, being motivated and being positive. I kept on saying, I want to be this bookkeeper, you know, up until matric. Funny, in matric, I didn't even have money to send, you know, back then we had to send application to universities.
Yes.
I didn't even have 9 rands to buy.
You've just gone mute there. You've muted yourself there. Can you unmute quickly? Your phone just went mute. Aha, good.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly now. So let's go back to you not being able to send the 9 rand application. Now it's gone mute again. Something is happening to your phone. It mutes itself. Good.
Are we good?
We're good. Continue.
Okay, so I didn't even have 9 rands to send my application just to buy postal stamps, you know. And at the time you're getting towards to writing your trials, you're getting a bit discouraged, you know, that I have not sent any applications out there. So that means my dreams of being this bookkeeper were slowly fading, you know. You know, got support later on, some of the teachers to say, no, have you applied? You know, there were teachers that were paying attention to our progress, and I managed to apply. But post-matric, I then did a diploma in marketing management, which still had a bit of bookkeeping there and communication. So that sort of kind of kept me on the right path into fulfilling my dream. You know, unfortunately, I couldn't get to varsity at the time because my mom couldn't afford to take me, and I didn't get a bursary. So, but kept on fighting with the little that we had, and I'm very creative with my hands. I started plaiting people's hair.
You are mute again.
So I started using my hands a lot. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You keep on going mute. I'm not sure what's happening to your phone when it mutes itself. But you're fine now.
I
We
think.
can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. Either it's sort of messages that are coming through in the background.
I think so. I think when a call comes in or something, it mutes automatically. So
yeah.
Don't worry.
Sorry
That's
about
technology. The world we live in now. We'll continue and we'll keep on doing the right thing. Don't worry. Continue.
Yeah, so I started using my hands and did people's hair, and up until when I completed the marketing management diploma, I volunteered. My mom then was working for a cleaning company, and that's where my sort of journey slowly begins. My mom was working for a cleaning company, and she was based at one of the clinics in Yeovil. So they needed a temp to come and you know, those plastic tiles, you know, so they needed someone to kneel down and scrub. And there I was like, no, man, I'll come and do it, you know. So for a week, I was on my knees and with a scrub and scrubbing all those corners in the clinic and everything. So whole 7 days. And then one of the ladies in the clinic, she was like, she was working for the organization Community AIDS Response at the time that was providing counseling and caregiving services in the clinic for the community. So she told me, no, they're looking for volunteers to come and be trained as HIV counselors. I was like, oh yeah, I am. Yeah, you know that thing, you've qualified for this, but you're not getting that job that you qualified for. But rather take something that will keep you going. So that was me at the time. You know, I was like, no, I'll do it. You know, so got trained as a HIV and AIDS counselor at the time, and based at the clinic for 3 months. So the same organization, they needed a receptionist at their head office. So I applied for the job, and then I got the reception job 3 months down the line. So then I moved to Norwood and worked there. And fortunately, the organization was kind enough to pay for my studies further, where I did my diploma in business administration and management, and then did my financial analysis. So now you see, bit by bit, I was getting to my bookkeeping dream as a child. You know, there was finance, there was money there as we kept going, you know. So I was excited, stayed with the organization for 5 years. We did quite a lot for the community. And that's where my other life began with the fashion, because the organization ran an income generation program, you know, for their patients that were affected and infected by HIV at the time, so they can earn an income. So we produced red ribbon HIV ribbons by December 1st. World AIDS Day, we would supply most of those ribbons that were supplied countrywide were coming from our organization, actually. So we did quite a lot of that. It was extra income from being the receptionist at the time. And then sewing was introduced. You know, I was out for lunch, sitting with a group. There's a lady here who's here to introduce sewing to this group. And I'm not even part of the group sitting around the table. I'm sitting on my own there. So the lady is explaining how you handle the Caesar and all those things, and I'm listening. So month end, I took all the money that I had and went and bought my first sewing machine. So I had no clue how to use the sewing machine. I'm self-taught. So I get home, I'm trying to thread this machine. This machine is not working. And it's one of those heavy metal machines, you know, back in the olden days. So I take this machine back to the shop and I'm like, guys, you guys sold me a machine that doesn't work. So these guys were laughing at me, like, no, this machine really, this machine really works. So they showed me how to thread it. Then went back home and started doing cushions, started doing, you know, simple patterns here and there, and taught myself. And my fashion journey began like that. And that was the year later on in September where Rowing then began. And
I want to hear now there. How does here's this girl who wants to become a bookkeeper. She creates a sewing class. She buys a machine. Then when does Rowing come in at that point?
You know, that's the you must just try everything.
Now you know the slogan.
Yeah, so Rowing South Africa had advertised a post of administrator/bookkeeper. And I was like, hey, here's my chance, and I applied. And at the time, I didn't know nothing about rowing, I must say. So I applied for the job and went through all their 3 interviews, then got the job. So get there, the books, I know everything about the books, you know, but there's this thing about rowing, and I'm trying to figure out, and it had its own terminology that was so foreign to me. So I get there, there's one of the biggest competition on our calendar, which is the SA Schools Champs, where all the schools in the country are there. So it's my first competition. My CEO then takes me, come, let's go to the regatta. Our competition, we call them regattas. So we go to Rotterplatz in Pretoria. So when we're there, I'm standing there below the tower. You know, it has its own language where they will be shouting heads. And that means you must take cover, mainly because either something is coming, is going to bump you or something. I didn't know that. So everybody's heads, Virginia. I'm standing there and I'm like chilled and I'm like, and until I hear a boat bounce me on my head. And everybody's like, that's what we were trying to tell you, that move away from, from the way, you know? So when I came back, I was like, okay, fine, let's start reading the rules of racing. So I started reading the rules of racing. We have a set of rules of racing which are ratified by our officials commission, which everybody applies. It's applied everywhere. So I started reading those and started volunteering during regattas to officiate. Then started learning different stages of officiating within and running the regatta. So I was placed in various places as well, gaining a lot of hours here and there. I was like, oh, okay. So now we started understanding the language, you know. So we started, then SASCOC had a sports administration course back then, years back. I think it was 2008, beginning 2009. So I went through the administration course for sports. We completed that. In 2010, they started a sports leadership and management as well, feathering into leadership now of sports and that. So we were part of that whole process, you know. So by the previous minister, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, when they were running the national indabas, developing the sports plan now that we have, we're part of that whole process. And Rowing South Africa was kind enough, started building my confidence in the space, in the sports fraternity, to say, go represent us here, go to the AGM, go do this. And I started now being very comfortable in the sports fraternity. Now you're making relationships with various people as you attend these meetings. And then mainly because transformation then that's when the agenda of transformation started in 2011. And all federation had to transform and make their codes accessible to everybody. So with Rowing South Africa, it was a bit of a challenge, mainly because if you know, rowing has been previously perceived to be predominantly white and only a water sport, you know. And we figured as a federation that for us to meet the mandate of government to transform and to be accessible to all provinces and districts, if we focus only on the facets of water, it's going to be a bit impossible. So rowing has a concept of indoor rowing. If you've been to the gym, there's the rowing machine. You see them in the gyms, and they have a little technology and the software that comes with it. And we figured that through indoor rowing, and fortunately enough, worldwide, it's recognized as a code on its own. So it still uses the same motion as being on the water. It's just that your machine is not moving. You are stagnant in one place. So we adopted indoor rowing as one of the concepts to grow transformation for rowing in the country. So we then started to say, okay, fine, this is the tool that we're going to use, and this is the tool that is going to help us have representation in most of the provinces where there's not rowable water yet. So we drafted a model, and I must say that when all of this was happening, there was no manual to say, Virginia, here you go, this is how you do it. Virginia was thrown in the deep end. A girl from the village who had nothing to do with rowing when she was growing up, now she's thrown in the deep end to have this model working, come up with a model, have it working, have rowing represented in all the 9 provinces, see how you go about it. You see, basically that's how it was. So I sat down, started challenging myself and thought outside the box to say, growing up in the village actually helped me to relate to the areas that we were targeting. And I started outside urban areas on purpose, mainly because I could easily relate with the villages. You know, I'm one of them. So it was easy for me to be there. So I started, my approach was, let me go outside urban areas and then come back into urban areas as I conclude the districts that we are targeting at a time. So the concept was, mainly because we're targeting juniors and juniors of specific age from the age of 12 to up until matric, whenever they matriculate. That means that the target group that I want, it's based in school. And the school infrastructure, it's solid and it's stable In terms of administration, it will make my life easier. In terms of safety of equipment, it will make my life easier, and to not lose equipment. So we went with the approach of placing this concept into schools first. Having an agreement with those schools to say, if there are kids that are around a certain school that are not part of that school, they are allowed to be part of the program as well. So that means that it then allows the community to tap into the program as well. Schools, kids that are not schooling in the particular school that may have the program at the particular time. So we had that agreement as well.
Let's not ignore the fact that we live in South Africa here.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that rowing is seen as a white man's sport, but also it's a men's sport. Now here comes a black woman in villages and stuff like that. How was the uptake from young people, young boys, listening to a black woman about a sport that is represented in their eyes as a white man's sport?
Let's not lie. I mean, women everywhere in every platform are not taken seriously. Anything concept that comes with a woman, it's considered to be, you have to be extra convincing. You have to have that oomph to say, we're gonna make this happen. So I had to grow a thick skin to survive in every way, to convince everyone. I mean, when I say everyone, because when you're starting a program in a particular area, you first have to educate what is rowing, firstly, and be very convincing as to what is this animal that you're talking about that is rowing.
Yes.
Once you do that, then you have all the stakeholders, your local municipalities, your provincial government, your sports confederations in the province, in the district. So they buy into the idea to support the concept. So me as a woman coming into this village, and I'm here to speak about rowing. Unfortunately, growing in South Africa, obviously when you're exposed to so many townships, you learn the languages. So for me, fortunately, I could speak all the African languages. So when I find myself in Umtata, I can switch into Xhosa very easily. So it was very easy for me to win them over, mainly because I was speaking their language first. Our late president, Tatu Nelson Mandela, to say, if you address somebody in their languages, it goes straight to the heart. So I learned that, and I carried that everywhere I went. If I go to Guyana, I switch it into Tsonga very comfortably. So it's easier. It became easier for me and convincing for everybody to, and they then started realizing, oh, she's one of us. She can speak our language. She's not just a woman, but she's one of us. But it
so
became.
You've reached thousands now. You've reached thousands of young people out there. What's the end game? What is Rowing S.A trying to achieve with this program?
So we've reached thousands and thousands, and our main goal is to make our sport a mass participation sport. Then find talent. We know that not everybody will be an Olympian. Not everybody will make it to World Champs. But the bottom line is that there's mass participation. It's accessible. Everybody has a choice to want to play the sport. Fail at it while you've tried and an opportunity had been presented to you. That is goal number one. Number two is to obviously identify talent, bring them closer to where facilities are, and expose them to competition, put them on the water. So I spoke of driving transformation through indoor rowing. What then happens as they actually goes, we introduce them to water rowing. So we would run development camps and say, we have given everybody an opportunity to do indoor rowing and to also be in the water. And fortunately, the indoor rowing machine is a tool that even the national squad, they use to train in terms of for trials, for time submission. So they use the same machine. So our development kids, they're not being separated by a machine and while the
other
other
kids, grade thing.
No, it's not. So it's the core machine that is being used by everybody on the sport. So all our kids, then they get to be introduced to water. We run development camp. We do assessment. We have our national squad team, coaching team that will come and do talent identification and give us hints as to what to look for. Obviously, I'm just a kid from Venda. Obviously, I don't know really. I don't really have all the answers in terms of what makes an Olympian athlete. So We
Yes.
then engage with the national squad coaching team that would give me hints to say, V, look for 1, 2, 3, and these are the kind of kids, and these are the time targets that we are setting for the kids that will really make it and that. So, but every child has been given an opportunity. Beyond that, whoever does not make it to talent identification, everybody still continues. The program continues and it still offers everybody a national championship event annually that they participate on.
There is absolutely no doubt in your voice and your demeanor that this brings you so much gratification and happiness. But how are the kids receiving it? What are you seeing in their eyes? What are you hearing in their voices?
The one thing they are getting. Remember, you dealing with a child that was like me, who was never exposed to life beyond the village. So when I come to them with this, and everywhere we take them, they travel a lot, which is one thing they enjoy. They getting to see life beyond their village. Some of the kids, they only leave their villages when they come to our camps or they go to our national competition as we rotate them nationally. So when the kids get so excited, some they would write me a letter. So the relationship goes beyond the sporting field. I actually now play a guardian role, a mother role. They actually, most of them call me mother, so there's that personal relationship that comes in, obviously, to guide them. Some of them are preparing to go for varsity. They'll be calling, and obviously I have to engage all my other colleagues that are in universities to say, okay, fine, I've got kids that are interested here and here and here. How can we help them? So some of them arrive in Joburg with no one to go to. I have to go pick them up somewhere, take them to varsity, complete their application, send them back to bus stops and everything. So that goes beyond the sporting field, you see. So, but we have
that's so important. It's
so
very important because some of these kids don't have in their own families people who can help them with such stuff.
Yes. So, and thank God we have got great colleagues as well that are based in varsities that are also are passionate about helping and changing somebody's life. So whenever I call and say, hey, Sizwe, I've got a child that is coming from Breds here and there, and I'm picking them up here now, can we come see you and help with application? Sure, come through. So we kind of try our best to help them beyond the sport, so that we also teaching them that there's life beyond the sporting field as well. A sports career comes to an end. They have to prepare for their lives beyond playing sport as well. So a career, it's imperative that they also have while they're still playing sport. So the kids that we have different kids, of course. There are kids that some of them are taking this for granted. It's just a trip away from home. And there are those who are really, really, really seeing a great potential in it. And you can see by the way they perform, how they carry themselves when we are at camp. So there's a certain group of kids that when you have them at camp for a weekend, you're not going to worry that you have 80 kids to control. How are you going to manage? It sort of goes smoothly because you have kids that are there and selected to be there, and they're taking that opportunity very seriously. So I could say that it gives me greater joy, honestly, I must say, as a mother myself, to see that what I am doing and investing my time in, it's not only giving an opportunity for a child to play, but it also giving hope and courage to a child that is from the same village, similar to mine, to say, if I could make it from a village like Mandara village, where there's absolutely nothing, they can also make it to something greater in life.
So we got about 5 minutes to conclude. I'm going to ask you 2 more rowing questions, then I'm going to go to something quickly different. You also then, in what you're doing, you training coaches in rowing. Am I right?
Yes.
And how is it going there?
It's going quite well. So what we do when we start a program, instead of us, we don't take rowing people from where we are from. We create rowing people where we are starting the program. So we then ask the community, the schools, to say, your people here. Can you help us identify people that are enthusiastic about sports? Then we can sort of help them start their coaching career within rowing as a sport. Then we have those people from different communities. We will run coaches training and expose them and give them all the knowledge that possible that we can. And we let them run the programs in the district and within those schools. And obviously, there's monitoring and evaluation that happens every now and again. And the community is happy. I walk away happy knowing that they don't have to rely on me for everything to happen, you know. So we in 9 provinces now. There's 2 competitions that happen in our calendar that I cannot reach them at the same time. So we have to connect either virtually, or they have to run it by themselves and then send the scores in that. So when we do our training, we leave them equipped enough to know that they will be able to manage the program, even though I don't make it through at the particular time of the competition.
Do you row now?
I do. I had to
Now
learn.
You understand heads.
I had to learn myself, mainly because I needed to inspire the girls mostly, mainly because we wanted to grow women in rowing. And to inspire the girls, you know, when I went around the village, there was that myth to say, oh, a girl child, you row, you're not going to be able to give birth. You know, there was like a whole lot of traditional things that were happening in different villages. So when I started rowing myself, was to encourage a girl child to say, you can play sport. I train quite hard. I run quite a lot. I'm a very active person myself. And that is to encourage my kids to say, if I could do it and I could run 20, 25 kilometers, I can train and this and this and that and row, you can do it as well. So that when we train them hard at camp, they don't say we're teaching them something that I cannot do myself. At camp, I do jump on the boat as well and go and have my session in as much as they become shorter, mainly because I'm still managing everything else around the camp, but I do row myself.
Okay, I'm done with rowing questions. We're going to conclude this in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
There's more to you, though. You also then have a fashion side to you. Tell us about that.
Yeah, rapanda, you know, so it's one of those things.
And you've got 2 minutes. I give you 2 minutes to do that.
Yes, I've got a fashion label, Funi Designs, that was inspired back in that organization where I self-taught myself to sew. So it's running quite well. I do all couture, ready to wear, sportswear that I recently launched last year. So yeah, there's more to me. When I'm back from playing with kids on the water, I have to service my clients and deliver, and it's doing quite well. So I'm happy that God has gifted me with such a gift, actually, to say I use it to debrief. After the camps and playing with thousands and thousands of kids, I come home and I'm alone in my sewing room and I debrief and then, you know, recover from it all while I service my clients.
Your story is a very beautiful story, Virginia. I'll tell you that much. People like you are very important in society. I wish you both success both on both fronts, on the fashion side, but I'll tell you the truth, mostly on the rowing side, because what you're doing will change the society for many years to come. Long after you're gone, there are many young people and their children who will remember that had they not met you, they would not have made it in life. So thank you for what you've been doing. We celebrate you, and you're going to, I mean, I don't know, where is it going to end for you? What is the end game for you?
I don't know. I haven't seen myself stopping as yet. Each time I come back from home, I'm exhausted. But each time I look at my schedule, as it reminds me I have to be in Guyana or Transkei somewhere, I get excited again. I get, you know, that fire actually start burning again. I'm going to see more kids. I'm going to meet new people and all that. So I don't know. I haven't put a timeline to it as yet. Even if I'm not longer in the field, it will probably be still running sports somehow. I don't know, but sports mainly because it brings change and hope in a fun way, in a playing field, than any other thing. I think I would still love to continue with it in as much as I would move away from being on the field.
So we have already begun spreading your contact details everywhere on our platforms. We're going to spread them even more so that people can get hold of you. Well, we won't give them your mobile number, don't worry. But so that whoever wants to work with you, whoever wants to send their kids into the programs to learn more, but also whoever wants to dress nicely and look like you, they must know how to find you.
Definitely.
On behalf of everybody else who follows us, I want to congratulate you, Virginia, Development Coordinator for Rowing S.A. and the boss of Learn to Row Rural Program. Well done and congratulations. Wonderful chatting to you, and you must have a great, great evening.
Thank you so much, Rams, for having me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You know, telling the rowing story every time, I don't get tired. It encourages me to say, if we could reach 2 people at a time after the conversation, then we've done our job. So I'm really, really happy and grateful that you had us this evening.
Excellent. So, folks, it's the beginning of our weekend. So you can have fun. You can listen to a president if you want to. After this, it's up to you. I'll only get to see you on Monday with Dr. T to recover from what could have depressed you with immediate effect, if you catch my drift. And thank you very much, Frederick. It's been a great week. From me, Rems Mabote, good night and God bless.